Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is June 23rd, 2025. Going back to work Monday, Manic Monday. You know how that goes. Had a pretty good weekend, though. Did a podcast Saturday, got up, mowed the lawn. Just my chores. Sunday, I ain't gonna lie, dude, here lately, I don't know if it's something the older I've gotten or what, but Sundays I just feel like doing nothing, playing video games here and there. So I finally got unstuck on Zelda Oracle of Ages. So there will be a review on it whenever it's finished. I'm super close. I'm literally on the last dungeon. So yeah, look forward to that. Go check out my other two Zelda reviews if you're into Zelda. It's literally the playlist on YouTube is called Zelda. So just been playing video games, chilling, doing shit at the house, and Spotify. I've been doing a shit ton of maintenance on Spotify. I'm going through and numbering all the old episodes, and also giving the old episodes, because I started on Spotify when it was still pretty new, and when I first started podcasting on there, basically when I first started my podcast in general, years ago, they didn't have the option for like title art for each episode, so I started basically going through, numbering all the original old episodes and adding like thumbnails to them. So been doing a shit ton of maintenance. I got like 450 something episodes to go through, and I'm on like episode 112 or something like that. So I'm like a quarter of the way there. But I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up. If you want to donate $1 or something, that would be nice and cool. It helps pay for the channel, helps pay for flash drives, pens, paper, small shit like that, you know. So little update on the channel. The last episode I did was Abraham and Isaac, the story of Abraham and Isaac. And my name being Abraham Isaac Jacob Williams. Dude, I did find it fucking interesting. So, I had unintentionally prophesied something. And honestly, I'm not over here like woo-woo, you know? Like, I'm not like, oh, I had a vision or something. No. I just literally said something along the lines of, we were talking about Christian religious abuse. And people not being able to get proper help for it. And I said something along the lines of, and people wonder why people go into churches and shoot them up and try to kill the pastor. And I'd actually said that just in general of how many times that has happened throughout history. And it does seem to be a trend. You know, what is it? Adam Lanza, I think, was the one. Was he the one that shot up a church? It happens pretty often. And I had just said it just because of that. And I kid you not, I found out literally the same day that I posted my last episode that, I don't know when this happened. I think it was like 1 or 2 days ago, perhaps. Or it could have happened that day, I can't remember, but literally someone had drove a truck into a church and started opening fire. I did not delve too deep into the story. I mean, maybe we could do an episode on it in the future, but I ain't gonna lie, dude, when I seen it, I said, holy shit, I'm a prophet, you know? Yeah, it's not connected to me in any way. I just found it very fucking interesting that I said that, and I spoke. it's almost like I spoke it into existence, you know. That or my phone could be listening to me and just being like, hey, check this video out. Look what just happened. You were just talking about this, you know. I just found that interesting. And I did have a couple comments on that video, on that podcast, which everything's been positive, you know. It is what it is. I had someone say, well, I disagree with you on God and Jesus and all that. I don't know why people feel the need to say that, because I don't really care what you believe. Not trying to be rude, but I just don't give a fuck what people believe. The only time I really actually care what they believe is if, like, I don't know, they're like a Baal or Molech worshiper and they're trying to, like, sacrifice children or something crazy like that. That's the only time I actually care what you believe, you know. But I do have to say thanks for being respectful, you know. So, we got that out of the way. Just little updates and shit. Let's get on with the show. Let's get on with conspiracy shit. So, years and years and years ago, I used to bartend for a place called Beaumont Inn. It was like an upscale well, no, it wasn't 5-star, it was 4-star. A white tablecloth restaurant, you know. Got to be dressed in, like, button-down shirts and hair combed, you know. Shirt tucked in, got to look real fucking nice, man. Fancy-ass place. I also did a whole episode called Beaumont Inn, Ghost of Beaumont Inn, I think is what it was called. And it was literally about all the different ghost stories I had heard over the 8 years that I worked there. So I remember one day, I don't really keep up. At the time, like, I wasn't really into Pokemon. I do collect Pokemon cards now. I kind of got into it, me and my wife, years ago. I'm kind of taking a break from it. But I do have, like, a dope-ass collection and shit. So I do like Pokemon. But, I just kind of wore myself out on it. I'm going through a Zelda phase right now. I go through phases, you know. But I remember one day just bartending, and I'll never forget. It was like, for some reason, it was a super slammed night. I don't even think it was a Friday or Saturday or anything. But everyone and their mother came out to Beaumont Inn, which is cool, because I made a shit ton of tips. But, like, everyone was playing Pokemon Go. And they were like, dude, are you playing Pokemon Go? I'm like, no, man. At the time, I probably had a flip phone, honestly. This is like, I just now got into, like, smartphones and shit. When I first got with my wife, you know. But everyone was playing it. And I'll never forget, too, because it was so bizarre, like, even older people were playing it. Like, people in their 50s and shit were playing it. And I was like, what the fuck? This is so insane. Like, older people and younger people playing this shit. And they were explaining it to me. Basically explaining the concept of you go anywhere, you're using your camera and you could see the Pokemon in real life. I don't need to sit here and explain to you what Pokemon Go is. You obviously know. And me, being a conspiracy theorist, was like, oh, hell no, dude. And I remember my coworkers being like, so Abe, are you going to get into Pokemon Go? I'm like, no. And they're like, why? And I'm like, dude, that's a fucking tracking device. That is something weird. It's got to be something fucking weird behind it. And everyone calling me crazy. Pokemon Go, by the way, came out, like, it had to have been, what, 2016, 2017, maybe? Years ago. And I knew back then that something was fishy and weird about it. And And it cracks me up, dude. I'm a big fan of Roseanne Barr, so shout outs to them and her podcast and shit. I remember listening to an episode, and I almost did a whole episode on it in general. And her son was saying, "Hey, Mom, when do we get our apologies?" She's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, about COVID and 9/11, and when do we get our apologies about chemtrails, about all these conspiracies that we warned people about for years, and now it's out in the open in public knowledge that it's legit, and we never get an apology for all the people who called us crazy and all that shit." And as I was listening, I like to talk to the podcast while I'm listening. I was like, "Dude, tell me about it. You know, it's fucked up, man. We'll never though." And then the whole point that I was gonna do, and I was excited because I don't really believe in synchronicities, not synchronicities, but coincidence. I do believe in synchronicities, but I'd already been thinking about doing a whole episode on just that subject in general of where are our apologies, and are we ever gonna get them? Yes, we deserve them, you know. I was just going to talk about that in general. But to sum it up quickly, I mean, we're never going to get those apologies, man, you know. And it cracks me up though, dude, like how many people even to this day will still make fun of the name of my channel of like, "Oh, conspiracy theorist," or "You're fucking nuts." And I'm like, how many times do we have to be right on things for them to finally start going, "Huh, this guy's not that crazy," you know? But Pokemon Go, there's a character named John Hank, a person. He's the creator of Pokemon Go. Apparently, I was correct. And I'm glad that it's all coming out now, because it just validates me and makes me know that I'm not fucking crazy. The whole time, John Hank was working with the CIA. And while you were out looking for Pokemon and catching Pokemon, you were basically making a 3D map. You were being used as a compass, I guess a compass or a planchette, really. Shows you how creepy it is. You were a planchette, you know, like, and they were moving you and using you to make a 3D map of basically like a worldwide map. Because as far as I know, Pokemon Go was everywhere. Everywhere except CIA facilities. Interesting. So it's proven now that the CIA was using it to create 3D maps, but they wouldn't let you use it in CIA facilities. 3IA. Yeah, you weren't allowed to use it in CIA facilities. So, I mean, that makes perfect sense, you know. But it was, apparently, it was a company, a shell company that was basically CIA called In-Q-Tel. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't know much about this In-Q-Tel company. Maybe we'll do a deep dive on it. If you guys have any info on this company, hit me up in the comments. I would love to learn. Teach me, you know. And they were working with like Google Earth, expanding maps and making better maps and shit. Basically training. Not we, because I didn't take part in it, but anyone who downloaded Pokemon Go and was using it was training AI, and they didn't even realize it. You guys were training Terminators. Also, too, the theory is out there that the whole thing could have just been like, well, obviously what I just stated, but also kind of like two birds, one stone, laundering money to perhaps Palantir, you know, just an idea. And we're going to do a whole deep dive on Palantir. But I don't know, I wanted to talk about it and just how crazy it was. And it makes me want to look into, honestly, Randonautica too, of who owns it, what's the origins, what's the connections with Randonautica, is it connected with the CIA also, because it's essentially kind of the same concept. So perhaps like those random locations are literally the CIA wanting to send you to places to, like, maybe find a dead body, do their dirty work for them, or yeah, just like, hey, we need a map of this area. We don't really, our maps aren't the best, you know, they've been doing construction in that area. We want you to go out there and map it for us while we sit back and chill and you do the dirty work. You know, I don't know. I just find it interesting and just wanted to sit there and brag and pat myself on the back. And hey, if you were also someone who warned people of, like, hey, I don't think we should be playing this new Pokemon Go, you know, I got a bad feeling about it, you were right, and you're not crazy. They'll gaslight you and still call you crazy, because blue pill people, they don't like facts, you know, and don't ever expect an apology, because people's egos are way too big to apologize. There was a famous phrase of, it is harder to inform someone that they're wrong than to, I forget how the phrase went. If you know how the phrase went, you kind of know. But it was basically explaining that it's harder to tell someone that they're wrong than, I don't know. I can't remember the phrase. I'm sorry. All right, next subject. So this is fucking terrifying. And this is one that I got from, like, a conspiracy channel of those people who just react to conspiracy TikToks. I remember seeing this years ago, but I've never covered it. There was a seminar. I don't know if it was, what do they call it, TEDx or whatever, TED Talk. It could have been a TED Talk, but a seminar, you know, a speaker talking about the Stinger drone. And I don't think we've ever covered this, but this shit is terrifying. So it's a little tiny drone. It's literally the same size, if not smaller, than, like, pedestrian drones that we can buy and use. Obviously this is high-tech shit, because it's used by the government as far as, like, law enforcement, CIA, FBI, shit like that. And this thing carries within inside of it, it's real tiny too. So being that it's government, I mean, they have better technology than us. What was their phrase of, whatever we have now, the government had like 50 years ago, is what, like, I think it was some higher up in the military talking about it, a whistleblower or something. But this thing's super accurate, man. It's way better than our fucking drones, pedestrian drones. I mean, you could possibly make one. This isn't like anarchist cookbook shit over here, but this thing is not even controlled by a person. It's controlled by an AI, and the way this thing works is it has facial recognition. So it carries around 3 grams of explosives, and it keeps it like in one corner of a detonation spot of the drone. So it has facial recognition. It's like a fucking wasp, dude. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, wasps have facial recognition, and they can remember your face. I think it was for up to like 3 days, maybe even longer, dude. But they remember your face. So I've always said, if you try to kill a wasp, you better make sure that you actually kill it. because they specifically have facial recognition. And they will remember you, and when they see you again, they will sting the fuck out of you. A lot of people don't know that. They're evil creatures. Thanks, God, for creating them. Why did he create them? Oh, yeah, that's right. Adam, Eve, an apple, talking snake, something like that. Thanks, Jehovah, Yahweh, the devil. But these things have facial recognition. So, like, let's say I'm the target. Obviously, I have mug shots, so they would just immediately pull up a mug shot. Plus, I have a podcast, so they have thousands of hours of my face, you know. And they just feed that through an AI, and the AI goes, "Oh, you've got tons of pictures of this guy. He's easy as fuck to find, you know." And then you send it in my neighborhood, and this thing literally will find your face and fly into your skull with these 3 grams of explosives. And it's the equivalent of someone putting a gun to your head and just pulling the trigger. Just immediately just blows up the front of your skull, blows up your brain. Instant death, instant kill. And it's called a Stinger drone. It's fucking terrifying. And like I said, you guys know that the CIA is going to be using it, FBI, local law enforcement, if there's ever like a hostage situation, or, oh, you won't come out of your house? That's okay. We'll just bust out your window and send in a Stinger drone, you know? Skynet, dude. We're fucked. And you guys know me. I don't trust our government. It's willing to kill its own people. An example, Waco, 9/11, William Cooper. So, yeah, it's just not trying to be black-pilled or bring the mood down or depress you, but it's just something else I figured I would inform you about that's out there. Hail the Stinger drone, America, baby. All right, next subject. So we did an episode, what was it? 2 or 3 episodes ago, we did an episode called The Etymology of the Word Vote. So, I love etymology. And I love the original origin of words and what these words mean. Because words are spells, and there is a lot of revelation of the method that these elites use because it's lesser magic. And I do believe that these elites are obviously occultist, and they know what they're doing. So the theory is that with lesser magic is they have to warn you of what they're doing, and it's up to you to stop them from doing it. Of basically like, hey, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Ha! Now it's up to you to go, oh, Abe's so crazy. Or you can like restrain me or something. But if you don't stop me from punching you in the face, I receive no karmic backlash because I told you I was going to do it, and then I punched you in the face. And you didn't stop me. So, that's the theory behind lesser magic. Now, we talked about the word vote. AstraZeneca. This episode will probably get fucking deleted. AstraZeneca. Someone ran this through a Google translator, of the Latin, because Latin, by the way, dude, that's like the language of the elites, man, is Latin. If you're a lawyer, you have to learn Latin. If you're a doctor participating in pharmacia, you have to learn Latin. All sorts of things. It's literally the language of the elites, is Latin. So someone ran this through a Latin Google translator, and they put some spaces in and I'll explain it to you so you can try this at home. They put a space between the A and the S, so now it's A straw, and then they put a space after the STRA, a space right there, so A straw, ZE, and then another space, and then NECA, NECA. Now, what this translates to, if you put those three spaces in, is Astra Ze Naka, which literally translates to a road to hell. Me and my wife were watching it, and she is like obviously a conspiracy theorist, and she's red pilled because she's married to me. I woke her up a very good amount, and she knows, man. But we do disagree sometimes, and she's like, I don't believe this one. I'm sorry, I think that's a stretch. And I'm like, yeah, I know you do, because you don't listen to me when I tell you about lesser magic and how this shit works, and revelation of the method and shit. And I've learned, being with her after 10 years, that it's like happy wife, happy life. So I just keep my mouth shut and don't try to red pill her too much. But I did kind of mumble to myself and rant to myself, so it was audible to her of like, yeah, just like Fauci translates literally to sickle, like the Grim Reaper. She's like, what? I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, go look up the etymology and the Latin of Fauci, man. It literally means the sickle, the reaper, you know? So, first of all, what kind of bloodline do you have, Fauci, that your family was named after? Your family was literally named the sickle. I would love to go through the history books and tomes of the Fauci family history, because I'm not saying that it's true, but it would not surprise me if his family comes from like the Spanish flu. They were doctors during the Spanish flu, and they were what are those crow-faced dudes that were during like the Black Plague and shit? It would not surprise me if his family is so pharmaceutically tied in with like ancient pharmakia from ancient times. I would love to know how many plagues that they were huge figures in, his ancestors. If anyone's ever done deep dives on fucking Fauci, man, send me a link to them, dude. I want to know his fucking family history and how he got the name of the sickle. And it reminds me of, honestly, like these, not to stray too far off the path, but these super old stories of the Men in Black from like medieval times, where they would say they would see like 2 or 3 different reapers in a field who were all black cloaks cutting wheat and shit, and like there's like ancient accounts of Men in Black. Maybe we'll do a whole deep dive on that. Apparently they showed up as like Grim Reapers way back in the day. I don't know, I was just like sickle, Men in Black, ancient times, medieval times, whatever. I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'm just going too deep down the rabbit hole. But AstraZeneca, the road to hell. And we know what happened with people who took that shit, and we know what happened to people who didn't take that shit. And honestly, man, I put out tons of episodes during that time period. I tried to warn people, don't do this shit. I mean, I work with a guy who's literally, he's like, dude, this shit fucked me up, and it's like, well, sorry you took it. I was out there trying to warn people not to do it, but you don't listen. He's the type of dude, he'd rather watch like Fox News and shit. Like, he's like super gung-ho about this Israel Iran shit right now, and I'm like, And he's like teaching his son to get into it. Like, I hear his son say crazy shit like there needs to be another crusades, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But I hope y'all enjoyed. I thought this was a pretty good episode. 3 good conspiracies, you know. I love y'all. Oh, and by the way, I'm a prophet now, so hit me up in the comments if you want to hear more of my prophecies. I'm the next Kim Clement. I love y'all. Y'all have a good day.